Aloha and welcome to Trust and Verify. We see you in the chat. We see you everywhere. We've got the unified chat so we can see you from Periscope, YouTube, what else? Stream.me. But we've got a great start. Oh my God, I can't even talk today. Welcome. Welcome. My tongue has quit. That's great for a talk show host, isn't it? Before we get anywhere, I have to introduce my friend, my partner, my co-host, Boogie Bumper. Boogie, how's it going, brother?
Very good, mate. Very good. We're a little late tonight because my alarm clock didn't wake me up in time to start. So hopefully everyone can understand. Congratulations to the Boston Red Sox, by the way, winning the World Series, James.
Did they?
You know,
they already won?
Yeah. Yeah, they already won. So that's 2 years in a row now that people from LA have been bitterly disappointed. Hopefully we can make sure it's 3 with Governor Cox getting elected. Don't you think that would be just wonderful? Good things come in threes, James. So thanks to everyone for joining us in the chat. Thanks for sharing. We got a lot of stuff to get to, brother.
I agree with you. Man, I'm sorry. I'm like tongued out for some reason. I just can't put my brain and my tongue together. I think I need to go back to some nicotine. Something is going on tonight. Yeah, I've been super busy, super everywhere. I got a lot to talk about. I'm sure you have a lot of good stories for us. Where do you want to get started and how do you want to kick things off?
Well, just before we go to our stories, I thought you might want to speak a little bit about your encounter today with one Mr. Is it Curtin?
Curtis. Ron Curtis.
Curtis? Yeah. Ron Curtis. So the move to get rid of Crazy Maisie, obviously it's an uphill battle. But what could you gauge from the Republicans there? It must be a pretty small, tight-knit group in Hawaii, all 30 of you. You probably know each other on a first-name basis, do you?
You want to know how funny that is? Oh, my God. So the guy, I'm not going to give away exactly who it is. I'll just say this. One of the GOP chairs used to work for me. So that's how close-knit the Republican Party is here, because you're right. There's about 30 of us. But, look, the GOP GOP party that's here, they're ridiculous. Like they're so disorganized. Look, and it's because the RNC walked away from here. It's like a deal, right? Let me go ahead and change stages here real quick. We're gonna fade that music out. Whoops, I'm an idiot. I clicked the wrong thing as usual. What can I do anything right tonight? A single thing, one thing, just one. I'd be happy. You know they the RNC's walked away from Hawaii, and it's obvious, right? They just don't want to spend the money, the time, or the effort it takes to fight the battle in Hawaii. You heard if you watched my scope with Ron Curtis 808 tell you that the actual registered voting scenario here is 7-1 against. So
wow,
7-1 against is a lot of fight. Like that, you got to put in some time, some effort, some money to battle against a 7-1 battle. So, we need the right people with the right strategy. Thank God for you guys in California is all I have to say. Like I've been trying to explain it to the people in California for so long. Don't be so down on yourselves. You got 50% of your state that's on your side. You're really close to a 50-50 split between Republican and Democrat. I'm in a place where it's 7-1 against. So,
question without notice. I'm assuming like a kind of social media thing that Donald Trump does isn't going to play in Hawaii, because this is just my impression. Like I could be wrong. I get the feeling that a lot of people in Hawaii, like, we don't have time for social media, bro. Like, not that they don't have time, like they're busy, but it might just not. It might not tick their boxes. It's like, yeah, who cares? Like, what am I going to do? Go on Twitter? I could surf. What's the difference?
There's actually quite a few Hawaii people on Twitter. There's more than it appears. Let's put it that way. There's people I'm peripherally aware of that are Republican. Like, I would actually guess, my actual guesstimation in Hawaii, there's probably 200-300 people that are on Twitter that are Republican, and then there's
what does the Republican Party need to do in order to turn the tables? Do they need to play the identity politics game and get themselves a native, a South Pacific Islander kind of guy?
What they actually need to do is to have someone exactly like Donald Trump come here and tell everybody, go fuck yourself. Like, I'm not playing. Like, the people don't understand the power behind the honesty game. And that's what they keep fighting here, is the people here that are in the politics game, they want to keep replacing the standard standby politician with another one. And that's why the Democrats are in charge and nobody's engaged. They need someone here that's truly engaged, that's can actually talk to a normal American exactly like Donald Trump did, and literally come here and say, this is why you're all wrong. Look at what, in fact, tonight on that thing you saw, these people here, they want to force us to use our local tax revenues to pay for the rest of the elevated train that they all sold us, promised us in the past was all going to be funded out of the money from the federal government. So, see, they like literally have lied their entire way through this. The Republicans have been standing up against it the whole time. But now we're at a place where we have concrete barricades poured all over our fucking city. Like at this point, we need it to work. Okay. I don't give a shit. Now it has to work. That's what they were counting on. See, now they want to try to screw us, and we have to be smart and stand here and say, no, we're not going to let you screw us on the train to nowhere. We didn't want this fucking train in the first place. You fucking idiots said you could handle it, no problems. You figure it out now. You're not raising our taxes and you're not stealing our taxes to fund this fucking train that nobody's going to fucking use. It's that simple. But yeah, that's what we need.
I mean, this is something progressives always do, isn't it? Like, no, everything's funded, everything's under budget. And then when you get to the point where you can no longer afford a thing, James, you can always blame a Republican. You can always blame a conservative. Hey, the federal government didn't give us enough money in the first place. That was the problem. They're hanging on to the money.
That's the problem they have here, is that they can't sell that to us anymore. They cannot sell that narrative. And that's the problem they have by being a 7-1 majority here, is that when this deal was made, the whole train deal was made, it was not only a completely lefty-run state, but all the people in the federal government were all lefties, and all the voting came from Obama's completely left Congress. They had the House, they had the Senate. That was during the time when they were forcing through all their judges and changing all the rules. So when they didn't fund it correctly, completely on them. The entire thing is on them. They fucked it up, and everybody here knows it, because at that time, Massa Obama, he owned everything, had all the way to the top. They could have done anything.
Well, the title of today's show is The Bottom of the Ninth in the Perception Game. We are getting towards the end, and you spoke a little bit about what they want is a politician with honesty. And by the end of tonight, it'll be clear, just based on the sources that we've managed to dig up during the day and stuff for us to review, this is exactly why the current attack on Donald Trump is to make him change his style. They need him to change his speech. He needs to change his rhetoric. They know that that's been a big attack weapon against them, something that they haven't been able to combat. Because as we've spoken about it before, James, if you sign up to the PC mindset, the politically correct mindset, you can't then come out and do the same thing that your opponent's doing if it wins. You can't just start insulting people, right? So the only thing that they can do is shut him down and say he's too offensive, he's too dangerous, and they're doubling down on that right now. But before we get to that stuff, an article you sent through that we wanted to go over here from AP, James, the known right-wing conspiracy website. Military already moving equipment to southern border. Yeah, yes. Some of us have been talking about this for about 8 months. The US military has already begun delivering Jersey barriers to the southern border in conjunction with plans to deploy active duty troops there. US Defense Secretary Jim Mattis said Sunday as a caravan of Central Americans slowly heads across Mexico to the United States. Mattis told reporters traveling with him that the details of the deployment are still being worked out, but he should have them by Sunday night. They will include exactly how many forces are needed. It was unclear when the details will be made public. James R., what's happening? Is it, like I said, 8 months ago, we said, hey, is the military going to get involved in building this wall? We were labeled, your tinfoil hat isn't shiny enough, comrade. You know, get out of the conspiracy sphere. What are you talking about? This is ridiculous. The military on the border. Don't be ridiculous, you fascist. Here we are.
Yeah, we told everybody what was going to happen. And let me address the chat real quick. The date on the screen is wrong because, as usual, I fucked it up. So, yes, the date is wrong. It is October 28th. I will change that mid-flight next time Boogie takes over talking. But I have data. I have not just guesses. I have intel for you guys that you are going to only hear here at this point. So I have two confirmed sources in the military that the 82nd Airborne is being dispatched to the border. But it's more specific intel than that. And this is the really exciting part. It's the Engineers Brigade. Do you know what that means? The 82nd Airborne specialty. That's right. Send in the sappers. What are the sappers good for? The sappers' specialty is not only undermining defenses, but layering in defenses. Their job literally is to combat other people from being able to invade their territory. Okay? It's both. Their job is to undermine walls and to build walls. Do you understand? They're sending the 82nd Airborne's Engineer Division to the border. You understand? We've been telling you. How long ago did, wait, let me bring this up. Exactly. It's the wall, guys. Let me bring this up.
When the budget came out, that's when we started talking about it. When the budget was coming out, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've been talking about this even longer than that, but I've been also saying that, remember when Donald Trump said something very specific not too long back. Yeah, it's been a while, maybe 10 months or so, where I said, look, what you just watched was the foundation of Joint Base the Wall. What do you think's happening right now? We knew the left was going to take it here. We knew we were going to have to send the military to the border because they wouldn't give us the wall through traditional funding means. So we already knew he already placed control of the border underneath the defense secretary, right? So you're already seeing the foundation of the structure. That's why I told you they basically just founded Joint Base the Wall, and it's going to fall into military control, and the border's going to be controlled by a general's billet. It's all happening right now. Like, it's literally, I think, what you're going to see next week, because remember, the president said, wait till you see what we do next week. It's going to be amazing. And now I have fresh intel that says, look, the 82nd Airborne's brigade, Engineers Brigade has been dispatched to the wall. We're getting the wall. I mean, that's all there's to it. That's the way I see it.
Well, I did a Periscope not that long ago, James, doing a Donald Trump rally. We were playing the ironic headline drinking game, and I actually, paused during it, and I said, "Did you guys pick up on that during his speech?" And you know how he likes to speak in a stream of consciousness. And he said, "I just secured, the largest military bill in American history, and we're going to get that wall, folks." Like, that's literally how he said it.
Yep.
One thing led into another thing. And I thought, wow, isn't that interesting? And I asked, how many people picked up on that? Because why would he say those two things together in that fashion if he wasn't directly funding it, right?
That's right. I'm gonna have to dig out my scope. I'm literally gonna have to dig out my scope where I said this 2 years ago. Like, I have a scope. It's one of my first scopes where I literally have 15 people watching it. Where I told you guys, hey, did you guys see this? The wall just got funded. And it's going to take a while for these things to become apparent, but that's how long ago I said, here's where it's hidden. It's hidden in the military budget. I knew it because I could see the writing on the wall. And that scope it's forever long ago.
The writing on the wall. The writing on the wall, James.
That's right.
We have been talking this week about, the perception game. And I think one of the things that the Democrats would be most fearful of, if they're being honest with themselves, if Donald Trump can send the sappers down to the southern border and start building a wall and start having military personnel on the border to repel this latest migration, do you know what happens to the perception that the Democrats have created that this stuff isn't possible? It goes away. Because you know what? He'll create a new normal. And that new normal will be like a hardline border policy. And you know what that happens then? All subsequent administrations then have a new normal. That's going to be expected of them. See, up until now, the Democrats, the normal that they have tried to present is you can't do anything about the border. The best thing that we can do is just let people come across and, you know, maybe, you know, if they commit a crime, we'll catch them and then we'll let them go and then we'll put them in court a couple of years later. This is really the only solution we can possibly have is no solution. So stop crying about it. Just get used to it. America's changing. People are coming over the border. It's fine. You know, like, don't be a bigot. Don't be a racist. Like, that's the only solution that they've presented. But if Donald Trump actually pulls this off, that's sorry to steal an Obamaism, my Democrat friends, but that's a line in the sand. Literally, a line in the desert sand. Yeah. And then all subsequent administrations, all subsequent politicians will have to live up to that new standard because that will become expected now. And that's what they don't want, right? It's a weapon out of there. It's a golf club out of their kit bag. Speaking of perceptions, James, I was actually looking around today. I thought I'm going to look around for stuff on the Walk Away March. I saw a lot of people periscoping. Looked like a pretty energetic thing. The only thing I could, all of the usual sources we go to, it wasn't even mentioned. Not even a hit piece. Like, I couldn't even find somebody on Salon or Slate to say how stupid it was. I was like, wow.
We couldn't even look, folks. We couldn't even find any coverage of it on any source. If it wasn't for our people, if it literally, I mean, I got to praise our people. If it wasn't for our new media sources all over the internet, there would have been zero coverage of the walkaway movement.
Yep. The only thing I could find was from 2 weeks ago, James, on a website called Think Progress. Pro-Trump walk-away march has all the signs of a grifting operation. Ah, yes, because it wasn't funded by socialism. It wasn't funded by taxpayers. Therefore, it's a scam. It's a scam.
The hilarious thing is that's... Hold on. The hilarious thing is that story is from, what'd you say, 12 days ago? And
12 days.
Yeah, 12 days ago. And he himself was approached by the little Washington, D.C. group that actually does this for a living and said, yeah, I think we'll provide all the marchers you want. They come $300 a head. Like, literally, it was like he was given a menu. Yeah, we heard you're doing this march. How many marchers do you want? Just like, this is a normal thing. This is like how you order marchers in Washington, D.C. There's a company. You just pick up the phone, dial a marcher, and you say, yeah, I'd like 10,000 today. Like, literally, that's how he was contacted. And these guys are trying to talk about a grifting operation. Like, hilarious. Hilarious.
Well, people who were there, like Mary Grace and others, they can probably speak more accurately as to, what the atmosphere was like, how many people were there and stuff. What I did notice on Twitter was the occasional person saying, well, this was a complete flop. There was only, a couple of hundred people there. Other people were saying there was thousands of people there. But, again, I did a Periscope not that long ago, James. We rebroadcasted and tore apart for shits and giggles a Stop Kavanaugh rally in Washington, D.C.
Right.
And there were more people in my chat room watching us deconstruct the rhetoric of the speakers at the Stop Kavanaugh rally than there were at the Stop Kavanaugh rally.
Yes.
It was really, It was quite uncanny. Like, we were actually outnumbering them 2-1, right? And it's like, everyone's behind us. This is a great, organic uprising of concerned citizens. And there was 10 people there.
Yeah.
But the perception game, the camera never went to the crowd. It was all up on the dais, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so here's a little bit from this article. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Kick into the article. That's what we got to get to the meat.
Okay. Organizers of the upcoming Walk Away March in Washington, D.C., remember this is 12 days ago, are billing their event as an opportunity to rally all those who use the Walk Away hashtag, indicating they've walked away from the Democratic Party. They're calling on supporters to come to the nation's capital and prove their hashtag wasn't amplified by Russian bots. Prove you're not a bot, sir. Yevgeny Bot. I need to see you in the flesh. Otherwise, I'm going to assume you're from a basement in Moscow, sir. The march scheduled for October 27 is being organized by Brandon Straka, the man who popularized the walkaway hashtag earlier this year. Straka, who describes himself as a former Liberal, launched the hashtag in May and has since become a favorite in right-wing circles. Yes, James, yes. The new Russian bots are actually Liberals being used by the right-wing Nazis. It's unclear how exactly much of that popularity was organic. However, given that Straka used stock photos for his walkaway campaign and Russian Twitter bots boosted the hashtag's reach, and little indication of the Democrat Party, there's little indication that the Democrat Party is actually losing members. So it's not happening. People aren't walking away. Just calm down. Readers of Think Progress, this is all a scam. This is all a farce. They go on to say that it's obviously a scam because they were charging about $85 for brunch. And I just remember not that long ago, we were talking about the Clinton comedy tour where she's charging $750 to have her complain about losing the 2016 election again. You don't even get fed. You don't even get hors d'oeuvres, James. You don't even get a cup of coffee at the Hillary Clinton bash. So there you go.
Hilarious, like literally hilarious. And it's even more hysterical that they wrote this piece 12 days before the march, and then now it's radio silence. Like, it's literally not just radio silence. It's almost like they're all radioactive. And like they want absolutely nothing to do. I saw the numbers from a lot of the people that were actually there. It's like official count was 5,300. We know for a fact there was over 800 at the night's gala event, which was expensive, right? A lot of people can't afford it. But look, it's Washington, D.C. I can't afford to eat lunch in Washington, D.C. Okay, it's expensive. Most people cannot afford to actually eat when they go to that city, unless you're a tourist that budgeted, $200 a day just to eat. It's pretty damn expensive. So, it's hilarious to me that, the timing was providential, to say the least, when you had the young black Republicans meeting there at the same time as the walkaway. I mean, you had some of the power hitters that have walked away for real, and that's why these guys want to dehumanize them. It's just the same principles, like the whole idea of behind tonight's show, right? It's the perception game. No, these people don't exist. Real Candace O is the only black woman out there that is anti-left, and she's crazy. Kanye West is the only black man out there that ever walked away, and he's crazy. Like, that's the perception game they want to show. If they actually showed the footage of 5,000 people, if they actually showed the footage of 500 people walking in the rain with a mixed crowd, all of their narratives just go falling apart. They just crumble into the dust. So that's why they've chosen to completely, excuse my language, whitewash the entire story.
Oh, very edgy. If only someone in the walk away movement had mailed a suspicious package to someone, then we'd be able to read about it, James. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Slate, stop trying to understand what Trump says and look at what his followers do. Now it's like, okay, everybody pay attention to Trump because he's a Nazi and a bigot and this is dangerous. And now it's like, don't pay any attention to Trump. Whatever he says. Remember, so they've been taking Trump literally for the last 3 years. If he says make America great again, that's a dog whistle to racism. Now, in this day and age, James, now the narrative's completely turned 180. Stop paying attention to what Donald Trump says. It's irrelevant. What he says is irrelevant, but what he says is also causing violence at the same time. Isn't that the darndest thing? Like, what he says doesn't make any sense. Don't listen to what he says. But those people that support him, they listen to what he says. Stop trying to understand what Trump says and look at what his followers do. At the end of a week of hate crimes in America, James, it's time to let go of trying to prove causation and instead assess the facts that are plainly in front of our eyes. This should be good. Perhaps we should start here. We don't yet know what we don't know. 12 people have been shot, 11 are dead at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Squirrel Hill, Pittsburgh. 6 are injured. 4 law enforcement officers were injured before the gunman was apprehended. Pittsburgh's public safety director, Wendell Hirsch, has called the crime scene one of the worst I've ever seen. We know very little about this third violent hate crime in a week, but one thing we do know is the alleged perpetrator, Robert Bowers, ran into the sanctuary in the middle of Shabbat morning services Saturday screaming, "All Jews must die." A baby naming was in progress. We know that Bowers was armed with a lawfully purchased AR-15 rifle and handguns. We know from his recent social media postings, James, get this, that he seems to have been angered by the congregation's concern for and support of refugees. Yes, lies by omission. We also know from his recent social media postings that he wasn't a fan of Donald Trump. Didn't like him. Donald Trump was a globalist. I didn't vote for Donald Trump. He's a globalist. F him. I've been saying to people for the last 2 years who try and say that Donald Trump is supported by Nazis, I've spoken to actual Nazis on social media. They hate Donald Trump. They can't stand him. Yeah. For them, he's not doing enough. He's cuddling up to the Jews. He's embracing the blacks and the Hispanics. He's a traitor to the cause. The Nazis don't like him. Oh, but of course, that doesn't make sense in the perception game. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. Perhaps we can add this. Some of us have children. Yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, all you have to do is look at who his first people into the White House were and look at his first deals. What kind of self-respecting Nazi would support someone who immediately reaches out and loves and hugs and kisses Benjamin Netanyahu and then cuts the biggest peace deal for the Middle East ever with a bunch of Jews and Arabs? I mean, just think about that. On its surface, how the fuck does that sound like he's a Nazi white supremacist?
Well, again, the truth doesn't matter.
Yeah,
right? The truth doesn't matter. Look at this. Washington Post. How much responsibility does Trump bear for the synagogue shooting in Pittsburgh? Not does Trump bear responsibility. He does, obviously. Much? It's just a question of how much. Right. So the perception is already set. In the hours after the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting, President Trump's allies were at pains to point out that Robert D. Bowers, the alleged shooter, was in fact anti-Trump. Never mind that Bowers disliked Trump because he felt he was too soft on the infestation, he wrote online using a slur for Jews. Trump is a globalist, not a nationalist, Bowers wrote on one of his social media accounts. So isn't that interesting? So Donald Trump comes out, says he's a nationalist. Everybody says how bad it is to say you're a nationalist. The guy who's actually responsible for the shooting in the synagogue says that Donald Trump is not a nationalist and is rather a globalist. What do you do now if you're writing at the Washington Post? Like, wait. How am I gonna make this, mate? How am I gonna make this Trump bad, nationalism bad, globalism good? I don't know. Just say that he hates Jews. Here's the. Well, a friend of mine, was also reading this article, and he said, in these kinds of times, you think you got to put your best argument forward, right? You start with your absolute best argument. Here's what the Washington Post can come up with. And I want you to keep this in mind when you consider, those fact check websites. Yeah. We fact check Donald Trump. And then ask yourself, how many people actually read the details of what's printed on those websites? I'd wager not many.
Did you notice that, what's his face? Your buddy, Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper is, I guess, he's one of the big leaders of some fact-checking .something.com website, Fact Check 5. I don't remember. I saw it in one of his videos where, he was just all over this fact checking. Like, he's the guy, and he's like, we're going to break down, and he literally, called every single thing Donald Trump did false. And he spent 2 minutes doing it. It was like, what in the world is going on here? These people will make shit up no matter what.
Well, it's about, because they know most people don't dive into the details anymore. We are a society now of low attention spans. This is why long form journalism no longer exists, James. Right. Why you can't get 10-page investigative reports anymore. Nobody reads essays anymore, long-form essays. Nobody reads books anymore, really. Right. There's a company going around called Blinkist, and I'm not saying there's anything bad against them, but their whole selling point is we'll break down the story of the book for you in 15 minutes in an audio recording. So, it could be Homer's Iliad. It's like, here are the main points, 15 minutes.
Homer's Iliad in 15 minutes.
Yeah. 15 minutes. But so what I think about these fact-checking websites is things like, if Donald Trump says, I make the most beautiful, the biggest buildings in New York, they'll come out and say, no, that's false. We found a building that's more beautiful. He lied. And so they can say, Donald Trump told 1,000 lies last week. It's stuff like that they're talking about, right?
Yep.
They ignore the bombast and the New York style of speaking, right? But this is what I'm talking about. Washington Post. Trump has had enough to say about the Jews that his supporters may easily make certain pernicious inferences. So already here, it's a weak case. If I'm reading this and analysing the rhetoric here, it's a very weak case. Because what you're doing then is drawing an inference and projecting it onto the audience that you're trying to attack. Because inference is a wonderful thing. They say one man's trash is another man's treasure. Right. So you can get an inference from one thing and it means a certain emotional response. Someone else can hear something completely different. During the campaign, he joked at a meeting of the Republican Jewish Coalition. This is their top argument, right? During the campaign, he joked at a meeting of the Republican Jewish Coalition that it would support him because, quote, "I don't want your money." Oh my God! What a Nazi, James! Do you believe it? Do you believe it? Guten Himmel, mein Herr. This is outrageous, sir. A campaign-era tweet about Hillary Clinton superimposed a Star of David over dollar bills, James. Do you remember that one? He said the white supremacist marchers at Charlottesville last year were fine people. They're still pushing that line. No, he didn't. Yeah. He did not say the anti-Semitic marchers at Charlottesville were fine people. He was talking about the debate of tearing statues down, and he said there are good people on both sides. He did not say that the marchers were fine people. But again, it doesn't matter, right?
That's right.
We just keep pushing on. We just keep creating the perception. But it's negatively affecting them now because people know this is bullshit. They know it's BS. If your evidence of anti-Semitic behavior and dog whistle politics, James, is that he comes out and says to a Jewish lobby, "I don't want your money," really, how strong is this case? And are people falling for it? Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. What have you made? The way that the media have tried to link recent events to Donald Trump, it's very predictable, but two, it's especially disgusting this time because there's even less meat on the bone than it would be for other people in the past, right? It is so overtly shallow. Do you think that this has any chance of suppressing voter turnout at all? We already know Republicans are kicking ass in early voting, right? Maybe this is what's driving it. Oh no, because Democrats, don't they historically dominate early voting?
Yes.
Don't they usually kill?
Yep.
So is that a trend? You would be alarmed, wouldn't you, in DNC headquarters if you saw these early vote turnouts?
Yeah, they got to be freaking out. They have to be freaking out because here's the numbers. The numbers right now say that we as a party, the Republicans, are outperforming 2016 numbers. And during those numbers, we took back everything. We won everything in 2016 and we're outperforming those numbers. That is what has got them shitting in their diapers. Literally, these people are scared to death. And that's why I fear an even bigger response of false flag type activity because they're freaking out. This is an extinction level event. Bill Mitchell's 100% right with that. They will go extinct. It will take them 20 years to rebuild the Democrat Party once this happens because especially by the cavalcade of numbers that we're looking at. We're talking about an avalanche here. We're talking we're going to win everything except for the dominant zones that they already dominate. And because of the criminal proceedings that you're about to see in 2019, we're going to take that away too. They're done. By 2020, it's going to be us against Mark Cuban. That's what the numbers are going to look like. I mean, it's going to be so outrageous that they're not going to understand because the normal people, it's not the left. Look, 20% of this country is always going to be fringe, radical, Greenpeace, Antifa, out there hugging trees and, literally protecting smelt while they support abortion. I mean, these are the kind of people that are always going to be crazy. Then you got the other 80% of us. 20% of us are on the right. We are 100% conservative. We want the the Constitution followed at all times. And when it gets really complicated, we want to work through those problems to really line them out via the Constitution. Whereas the other 60% of the country, they just want to live their lives. They don't want to deal with the 20% on the left, and they don't want to deal with the 20% on the right either. They just want to live their lives. And when you show those 60% that the left is trying to silence everybody, they're trying to deplatform everybody, that they can't be trusted with the news at all, for not a single bit. This is what wakes them up. And this is why we're crushing the numbers. This is why the numbers stack up right now that we're going to win virtually everything. We're going to win more than they possibly think is possible.
Let me put it this way too. Carrying on with the theme of the week, even just let's say there's a chance that the Democrats take back the House, right? I think they've given up on the Senate now, and I think they know it's done. Yeah, because their blue senators in red states are just like they're in for a world of hurt right now. Yeah, and that's fine. But what if they take back the House? Okay, so what happens as a direct action from the Democrats taking back the House? Well, they then take up all the chairmanships on all the committees, right?
Right.
So they take over like the security, and then it becomes investigation-a-thon. Now,
right.
If you were a smart operator in the DNC, if I was one, I would be saying to them, if they win the House, do you really think it's a good idea to continue to hit like the investigation angle? Like, so what are we going to do? The Russia investigation again? Yeah. Like, you know, and here's the thing, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones.
That's right.
So when you open up these doors of investigation, if you create a new normal in that sense, I think it's only going to hurt them in 2020 if that's the way they go. But right. I think they're so on the ragged edge now. I don't think they have the ability right now to understand, you know, good strategy anymore.
No.
Like the rage is just so overwhelming, James. Like they don't understand. It's not fair. This is their birthright.
Yeah.
How could this be taken away?
Right.
And when you've spent 3 or 4 decades pushing politics into every orifice of the Western world, you know, ramming it down their throats and up their backsides as fast and hard as you can, then if you surround the populations in this political, you know, this political oxygen and, you know, they're choking us, like, get away from us, leave us alone. They're going to vote out of rage, like of frustration. And that's what Donald Trump is. Like here is the frustrated voice of the American people right here. And he's got orange skin and golden hair, right? Like what more do you need? Maybe he's a bit inspiring too. Look at this one, James. Again, Washington Post. He felt that somebody was finally talking to him. How the package bomb suspect found inspiration in Trump.
Oh my God. They're still trying to sell this shit. Oh my God.
He was inspired by Donald Trump, James. It wasn't a dog whistle to extremist bombing behavior. It's worse than that. Like it's like Donald Trump's version of Mein Kampf was saying, you know, crooked Hillary, lock her up. As far back as 2002, lawyer Ronald Lowy recalled the windows of Sayok's white Dodge Ram van were covered in stickers of Native American regalia. Though Sayok was Filipino and Italian, he claimed to be a proud member of the Seminole tribe, Lowy said. So he's not even an Indian. He's not even American Indian. He's Filipino and Italian, James. Wow.
He's
still a white guy, though.
He's not even qualified as white.
He's Filipino and Italian and perhaps an Indian, a.k.a. white guy, middle-aged white guy, MAGA bomber. The lie was one of many Sayok would spread about himself over the years. Oh, okay, so if he claims to have American Indian heritage, that's a lie. Paging Elizabeth Warren. You're wanted in the lobby. The lie was one of many that Sayok would spread about himself over the years. He falsely claimed to have worked as a Chippendales dancer, James, and he was once charged with fraud for modifying his driver's license to make it appear he was younger, said Lowy, who represented him in the case. Sayok seemed to have a new business venture every 3 months, though none was successful. He worked as a DJ or a bouncer at strip clubs, dabbled in bodybuilding, and spent much of the past decade living out of his van. He made up stories in order to try and impress people. He felt like he didn't have a background that he respected or liked. He made up stories like he made up small arms, James. Like, you know, improvised explosive devices that aren't designed to. Yeah, bro. Yeah. No, I'm like a serious bomb maker. Hey, I've been making bombs since like Vietnam, bro.
Out of toothpaste and a fucking Coke can.
I don't mess with me, man. Don't mess with me. I'm like a big Trump supporter. See, this is not a good story for the lawyer to put out there. Oh, he used to make up things to try and get more popular. Oh, what? Like being a Republican? Like being a big fan of Donald Trump? Oh, no. Everything else was a lie. He just really meant that. He was absolutely a Donald Trump supporter. I don't see any problem defending this in court. Say like a 56-year-old Florida man whose friends and associates say had never shown any interest in politics. Uh-oh, ding dong. No interest in politics, James. Suddenly began sharing images of himself on Facebook at Trump campaign events. He signed up for Twitter, where he trafficked in conspiracy theories and conservative memes. He was registered as a Republican to vote in Florida. Lowy said he believes it was the first time in Sayok's life. Here it is. In 2016, he traded out his Native American decals for ones that supported Trump. He had no interest in politics, was always at the nightclubs, the gyms, wherever he thought he could meet people, impress people. And along came the presidential campaign of Donald Trump. It was a come to Jesus moment, who welcomed all extremists, all outsiders, all outliers, and he felt that somebody was finally somebody was talking to him. Bravo, Washington Post. Woo! Donald Trump, friend of the Filipino-Italian extremists whose entire life is built on a foundation of lies until Donald Trump gets into office. Of course, someone who lies as often as Donald Trump, of course he's going to resonate with someone who's spent their entire life lying in order to be popular. It just makes sense, doesn't it?
These people are insane. Like, I don't know what else to say other than these people are insane. Like, this is why we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this whole MAGA faker bomber is a ridiculous bullshit narrative. Is because the guy is literally the left's caricature of what they think a Trump supporter is, because they've never spent the time to actually do the research to figure out that Trump supporters are the people watching this show. They're the people that watch Your Voice America. They're the people that watch those types of periscopes. And if you dig into everybody's background, you'll realize that most of them are either a minority themselves, related to a minority, don't give a shit whether they're a minority, and work. Like literally the middle income Americans that don't want anything to do with people like this. Like these people like this guy are literally like, we look at them and go, yeah, that's easy to tell. You're definitely not a conservative. You're definitely not a MAGA person. You're definitely a faker. Like, we can spot these guys a mile away because we live it every day.
It's funny you mentioned the minority, James. I was reading an article earlier today on Vox.com, and they were saying that genetic research is racist because it's too many of the test subjects are white. Like a majority of people being tested on for genetic research purposes are white, and this is racism because white people are a global minority. And I thought, well, there it is. There's the admittance. Now we're doing, but isn't it good to be doing research in order to protect minorities around the world, James? There's only a fraction of the people around the world are white. Therefore, it's racist to do genetic research that benefits them. You know, like, wow. Full retard, James.
Yeah, and I thought that they controlled all the scientists, right? Aren't all the scientists leftists? So if all of the scientists are leftists, how does that make any fucking sense?
It doesn't. It doesn't have to. Trump's attacks on the news media are working. This is the New York Times, James. He was at it again. That's a great opening for an article, fella. He was at it again. At 3:14 a.m. on Friday, President Trump was awake and tweeting. Funny how lowly rated CNN and others can criticize me at will, even blaming me for the current spate of bombs and ridiculously comparing this to September 11th and the Oklahoma City bombing, he wrote. Yet when I criticize them, they go wild and scream, it's just not presidential. See, he's just going to keep powering right through. The whole game being played here is to try and take one of Donald Trump's weapons away. And one of those weapons is exposing the fraud, you know, the manipulation of the mainstream press. And he has actually, you know, some of us have been talking about this stuff for years and years and years. But with his ability, with his platform, with one tweet, he can just punch a hole right through it. And then it sends them scurrying because they need to play defense against this guy. And they don't want to play defense against this guy. For the longest time, for decades, James, the mainstream press, working as an activist arm of the Democrat Party and the left, you know, left-wing parties in the Western world more broadly, they have, you know, they've had the ability to hold this, like the sword of Damocles over the head of conservatism. So you say what we want you to say, you behave the way we want you to behave, and we might just call you a Nazi. We might just call you a racist. But if you go any harder than that, we will absolutely tear shreds off you. We know it's, you know, if you try to befriend the mainstream press, the corporate press, then they don't want to be your friends. They'll use you. And then when it's convenient for them to do so, they will absolutely tear you down. We know this is a fact. So Trump identified this 3 years ago and said, let's meet them head on and see how that works. I mean, he already knew at the time that trust in the mainstream press was at all-time historic lows. It was in single digits when he ran. So like they don't have a bench. They've got no one's going to come to their rescue here. We can take them down. He tapped out as federal authorities were investigating 12 pipe bombs mailed to the billionaire George Soros, Democratic politicians Robert De Niro and CNN. Can we stop calling them bombs? They didn't have any igniter. They didn't have any wick. They didn't have any black powder in them. They were things that looked like bombs, but they weren't bombs.
Right.
Like, technically speaking, they could not explode. Like, there was no chance of an explosion. Is a water pistol a gun?
Right.
Right?
Yo, it is to the left. Like, don't forget, it is to the left. They will arrest a third grader because of, yes, it's a gun. Like, you don't ask that of them. They are freaking nuts.
So began day 645, James, of a presidency that has made denigrating the news media one of its identifying features. After mocking and insulting penned-in reporters on the campaign trail, Mr. Trump continued going after journalists the day after he was sworn in over the size of his inauguration day crowd. See, they have to go. They need to drudge back. They're drudging back. They're drudging back. They've got nothing. Then came the fake news, enemy of the people, negative branding campaign against those who hold him to account. The negative branding campaign. They were already New York Times, if you're listening, you were already unpopular. CNN, you were already unpopular. MSNBC, you were already unpopular. People were not watching. They were not reading. The election of Donald Trump has actually boosted your ratings, has boosted your circulation, not the other way around.
Yeah, that's right.
So you can't have it both ways, right?
Yeah, I was going to make that same point, was that, you know, like you said, I would argue that Donald Trump is, and he's made the argument himself, he is literally the savior of the mainstream media. He's their savior. They were at single digits before Donald Trump. Now their popularity has increased to their own base, right? Their actual numbers have gone up of who trusts them to in somewhere in the 20s because of their base. And literally, without Donald Trump, they would have no advertisers left because their viewership would be so far in the tank. Like, let's face it, right now people pay money. They literally pay money to watch grass grow more than they watch CNN. They pay to watch reruns of SpongeBob SquarePants more than they watch CNN. Like, this is reruns of a kid's cartoon that's got higher ratings than your primetime lineup, and you have the largest budget in media. I don't understand why these guys can't see the problem here and can't see that. Thank God for Donald Trump saving them, because as soon as Donald Trump is no longer the president, those guys they will lose everything. They have to. They need someone like Donald Trump to keep them in the game.
Not just that, James. Let me put this to you and let me see what you think. Here's a theory for you that I haven't articulated. It's a theory. It's bouncing around. If Donald Trump actually does what the mainstream media wants and dials back the rhetoric, becomes apologetic, refuses to say things like, hey, the fake news and stuff, I would put it to you that that's the end of his presidency, because the people are no longer going to support him. And then somebody else will come out and say, you know what, Donald Trump went soft on us, and I'm going to be the new guy. Do you know what I mean? Like, if he doubles back now,
Donald Trump sold out.
Exactly. Well, I really think if he changes tack, if he changes his strategy, if he changes his tactics, especially after it's been so successful for him, I think that large sections of the quote unquote MAGA base will just become disenfranchised again. So, like so if he does what the mainstream press wants, the highly unpopular mainstream press, he loses the presidency. Yeah. His only option right now is to continue on. Like the only way is forward. You can only punch back.
That's right.
There's no other way.
No, I totally agree with you. And the only way forward for the media is to literally, they need to tank. They need to lose this election, and they need to basically replace. Like, I'm telling you right now, the only chance those networks have, forget about anything else, the only chance those networks have of actually staying in business is to literally fire and replace every single host that they have. And they better be somehow pretend that they're middle of the road news broadcasters again, because the American people are moving to our platforms. We've already discussed this. We've already won. This game is over. Like, we're literally watching CNN clips on YouTube for entertainment. Like, you and I were laughing our asses off the other day in prep for this show, when we were looking through those clips going, holy shit, you're not going to believe what I just saw. Oh my God, we have to play this for Sunday. Oh my God, get this clip. And you're like, send it to me, send it to me. Like, literally, we're watching it like we're watching, entertainment. Like, it's like, this is our movies, is to watch these people implode. And it's glorious to witness for us, but, we're wonks. We're like the policy guys that are sitting there going, yeah, did you see how he moved that comma over here? Most people are like, what? But we're like, going, yeah, did you hear that? That one sentence right there just tanked the entire speech. And it's fun to watch for people like us. But, we're the rare exception. Most of the American people, they just want the news delivered. And that's their only chance of saving themselves, is if they fire everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only chance more broadly for the Democrat movement is to step back and be reasonable again. My good friend, the voice of reason, Adam J., he was like, people just want the left to just stop being crazy. Just be sane. Like, hey, how about we have a debate again? Remember back in the good old days how we used to debate, like, you wanted to lift welfare a little bit and we wanted to pat it down. You wanted to increase government spending a little bit and we wanted to cut it down. Or, you wanted a little less spending on the military. We wanted a little bit more. Remember those debates? But now it's like, okay, we want a little bit more spending on the military, and you want to erase everyone because you think they're Nazis. Like, what the hell is going on? We want to decrease welfare spending a little bit. You want transgender bathrooms in every building. Like, what the hell? Where did you lose? Like, what the hell is going on? So I think people just want a little bit of reasonable, again, from the Democrats, but
sanity.
I just don't think they're capable. Yeah, but I just don't think they're capable of it anymore. I think they've pushed the barrow so far. Like, they can only like Donald Trump can only continue punching through the media. The media can only continue doing what they're doing.
That's right. We talked about this before, that it's like that whole nerve thing. You're exactly right. They have no choice but to go out the other end now. They're much closer to get back into a structure if they actually just go ahead and blow the whole damn thing up. Like, that's what they need. They need a whole new party. Like, this might be the point in time where the Democrat Party becomes something else. It's kind of like when the Whigs became the Republicans. This may be the same basic thing here. We may witness the Dems become the Green Acres Party. I don't know, but they got to become something else. And the only way to get there, they're much closer to that than they are to actually becoming blue dog Democrats again, becoming the party of your friend Lucifer Sam. That's impossible because the people will never believe them. The people they've lost all their only authentic thing they have is that they're crazy. Everybody believes. They've watched it. They've watched batshit crazy Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, Chuck Schumer. They've watched their crazy full on display on national television. They know they're fucking nuts. They can't then turn around and become sane. It just doesn't happen, right? So in order for them to do that, they just have to lose this election by the landslide of all landslides, completely implode, and then their base has to rehire and rework all new politicians in order for them to ever have a chance. So that's why we say they're not going to win another national election until minimum, in my opinion, 2026. It's going to take that long at a minimum to retool this party.
And I can hear moderate Democrats in America right now, James, screaming at Periscope going, hey, that's not me. I'm not the crazy, those crazy people, they don't represent me, but a couple of red pills for you, comrades. Number one is, as long as you continue voting for the party, they're not going to change.
That's
so
right.
that if they have your vote in the bag, you may yearn for a more moderate Democrat party. You may yearn for the good old days of sanity and rational argument. But as long as you keep showing up on election day and pulling that lever for the blue team, they are just going to keep going because they take you for granted now. This is what the Republicans had to experience, right? They had to get to the point where, hey, our people, we've been taking the people for granted. Now we actually have to do what they want. Otherwise, they are going to destroy us, and we can't allow that to happen. The same thing has to happen to the Democrats.
You just made the best point of the night, is that it's exactly how we got Donald Trump, is because they had to get to the point where they realized they fucked with the Tea Party, right? The Tea Party made them realize, oh my God, we can't win if we fuck with these people. And then they said, okay, so now we're going to teach these people a lesson, and they wanted Donald Trump. Fine. We're going to give him Donald Trump. He'll never win. Mm-hmm. And then they woke up and said, oh shit, he won. Like literally that's the point of the night right there.
Yeah. I mean, if you want the Democrat Party to change, then you're going to have to hurt them a little bit. It's like if you live in a congressional seat that's like very, very, very deep blue. I've been talking about this for years in Australian elections, James. If you live in a seat if you're a Democrat living in a very blue seat and you want to get things done, vote for Republicans. Reason being, because if the margin is too big in a very blue seat, the person there will take you for granted because they know you're going to vote for them regardless of what they do or don't do. So you might want that new road done. You might want that bridge upgraded. You might want upgrades done at the local school or something like that. And you feel like 10, 20, 30 years, nothing's getting done here. You're going to have to vote for the other team to lower that margin. So the Democrat then has to do something for you to keep your vote. That's the game. If they know that you're going to vote for them regardless of what they do or don't do, then it doesn't matter. All your protestations are like pissing into the wind. Oh, that's not me. They don't represent me. Too bad. They do. Yeah. And here's the other red pill for you. Due to the actions of the hard left fringe of the Democrat Party, partly by them and partly by your opponents in this political battle, guess what? We're going to make everyone think that even if you swear black and blue that the hard left fringe is not, does not speak for all Democrats, even if you say the majority is moderate and these guys are just the extreme edge, we're going to make everybody think that the reverse is true, whether you like it or not. So maybe in 8 years' time, it will be the Democrat Party reputation and their perception and their image might be just a bunch of screaming, irate, hysterical, dyed-haired feminists who hate life as we know it, who hate their own existence. And you might say, that's only 5% of the Democrat Party. It's not fair. Too bad if it's not fair. We're going to make it so unpopular for men to vote Democrat, they won't do it for 100 years. Yeah. To steal an LBJism, right? So whether you like it or not, that's your representation, and that's what you're going to be stuck with. Because if you can turn around and say that the representation on the other side is that they're represented by KKK members, Nazis, and misogynists, well, guess what? We're playing the same game now, and we're far better at it than you are. far better at it, because we actually have images and footage of people screaming hysterically in the streets, doing the kind of behavior, exactly what we're talking about. I've never seen Donald Trump wearing a KKK hat. Have you?
Nope.
I can't find that footage. So it's going to be a lot tougher to sell. Here's one for you, James. Riling up the crazies. New York Times. Sometimes it has been about Washington. As long as I've covered politics, Republicans have been trying to scare me. It's the fear campaign days. Old favorite. Sometimes it has been about gays and transgender people and uppity women looming, but usually it has been about people with darker skin. They're coming, always coming to take things and change things and hurt people. A Democratic president coined the expression, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Yeah, that was JFK, by the way. That was JFK. He also said, Ich bin ein Berliner, which I guess, you know, it just proved like that he was a Nazi as well, right? Like if we're looking back through history. But it was the Republicans who flipped the sentiment and turned it into a powerful and remorseless campaign ethos. Make voters fear itself. So it's a fear campaign about fear. I liked where this is going. President Trump was relieved when the FBI arrested a bomb suspect, a racist, homophobic, roid-raging, strip club-loving, MAGA-worshipping Florida man who was living in the van that looked like I don't even know that word, of Fox News propaganda. The real fear that Caesar Sayoc Jr. is accused of spreading... A decoupage. Wow.
Yeah, it's a French word. Yeah, it's called a decoupage. It's a French word that means, it literally means like collage. Like literally that's what it means.
Collage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why couldn't they just trying collage? To be, because they're a pretentious fucking lefty that probably drinks fucking, you know, wine and brie on the weekends.
This was literally written in a croissant cafe. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
The real fear that Caesar Sayoc Jr. is accused of spreading was distracting from the fake fear Trump was spreading. So real fear versus fake fear. I can't keep up anymore. To spur Republicans to the polls. And so let's look at this virtual reality we're living in. So fake bombs that aren't actually bombs, that weren't designed to detonate, that's real fear being spread. Donald Trump talking about tens of thousands of people approaching the southern border of the United States, that's fake fear. Even though it's actually happening. Right. Do you see the universal, like the constant shifting, like white is black, up is down, left is right. The fake bombs are real fear. The real people, that's fake fear. It's funny, like, because we haven't been talking about the, I know, right? It's just ridiculous. We haven't been talking about the caravan. You spoke about the military going down there. And I was reading, you know, the New York Times today. And it was like Democrat politicians are selling healthcare like in the lead up to the midterms. And I'm like, we spoke about this 3 weeks ago, that they do not want to talk about immigration. They want to talk about healthcare. So it was like plastered on all the opinion pieces. Oh, the Democrat politicians, they've found a winner in talking about Obamacare. I'm like, really? Really? Is it up to us to keep the immigration debate going, even if they don't want us to?
No, we don't have to, actually. We can just sit back and wait for the military to get there and let Donald Trump handle business. I mean, like, we know we've already won this, and that's the best part, is that we have the boss that we can just follow. Let me real quick address the chat, because now that I've said that the word was decoupage, people needed to correct me that decoupage wasn't just about creating a collage, it was about the method of creating that collage. So I am aware, but this show is called Trust and Verify, and we talk politics, not arts and crafts. So we don't really give a shit about decoupage. I was just reading the word. But yeah, we got it, Millie. I apologize for getting that wrong on the type of collage making that it was. But yeah, decoupage essentially is like putting glue all over, like, cut out news articles and shit and putting it on this like piece of cardboard. And yeah. I'm aware. My mom used to make me do the decoupage when I was like 8.
And I am getting a little stick there for misquoting JFK. It was actually FDR that said the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Yes, but to be fair, I am a foreigner, and I did correctly slander JFK as being a Nazi. So, you know, you got to cut me some slack, right?
Yeah.
Ich bin ein Berliner. Oh no! The Fourth Reich. One more article before we get to the hammering, James, just to close the file on the blame game. Trump has passed on every chance to unite the country during the pipe bomb crisis. Yes. Like as soon as I know, right? It's just alternate reality now. It's literally alternate reality. As soon as his very first speech, James, you'll remember, he came out and said, in times like this, we need to unify. We need to stop fighting against each other. Schumer and Pelosi came directly out and said his words ring hollow. He condones violence. So he tries to unify. The other side says, no, not good enough. So then after that, he, what's he supposed to do? Just continue groveling at the feet of the Democrats, like who are actually behind, like who aren't in power?
Yeah, exactly. I've been talking about this like ad nauseum on all my scopes, all my shows I'm on, everything, is that what the left means when every time you see them say they want Donald Trump to call for unity, what they mean is they want Donald Trump to capitulate to them and join them. Because they're not budging. They're not coming to the middle. They're not going towards us. Look, I've told everybody before, and I'm going to keep thumping my drum, and my drum says, look, you know, and I know, and he knows, and we all know, we're in the middle. We're not on the far right. They don't get to put us where they want us anymore. They don't get to lie and tell everybody we're racist. They don't get to lie and tell everybody we're misogynists. They don't get to lie and tell us.
They can, but it's not going to work. It's not going to work. They can try.
That's the key point there. That's right. That's the key point. We are in the middle. They come to us, no problem. Hand of peace is sitting right there. But we are not coming to you.
Sorry, somebody in the chat just said fake decoupage bobs. Fake decoupage bobs, James. I like that.
Boom! I love it. Way to go. Tie it together.
Do not say boom. Do not say boom. Referring to the
Ixnay on the boom, mate.
Ixnay on the oom. President Donald Trump has had multiple chances to unite the country on the day authorities detained a suspect pipe bomb maker. Again, not a pipe bomb maker. They weren't actually pipe bombs. They were movie props who targeted prominent Democrats and CNN. Trump has passed on all of them, choosing instead to continue criticizing Democrats and the media. Well, why shouldn't he? Why shouldn't he? Because you have an opportunity to unite as well. One way of, expressing that you have a willingness to unite in this time, James, would be to come out and say, look, it's not President Trump's fault that this guy made pipe bombs and mailed them. Like, he didn't do it. He didn't send the guy orders. So let's stop blaming each other for the actions of lunatics on both sides, and let's get together and have calm, rational debate. That would be a way to unite, instead of saying it's all Donald Trump's fault. He ordered this man to make the pipe bombs with his racist dog whistling, subconscious language that only he and Filipino Italians can hear. And the pundits on CNN.
I'm sorry, like 3 times now, the chat has caused me to just crack the fuck up. And I gotta address it now. Duval said, sweaty decoupage balls. Earlier, our friend, what's his name? Phil, our friend Phil, the famous half Japanese, half Italian guy, said that he blames himself and wakes up every morning hating his white half. So tomorrow he's going to pay his Japanese half reparations.
Very good. That's a good step forward, I think. After initially calling for unity in scripted remarks on Friday, the president turned his appearance at the White House Young Black Leadership Summit into a campaign rally. How dare he? He did his usual thing. He slammed Democrats, bashed the fake news media, and lambasted the so-called globalists, James. So-called. Never mind that most of the bombers' targets were top Democratic politicians, including former President Barack Obama and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and that one was CNN, one of Trump's favorite targets for the fake news label. But that's not all, James. Hours later, while speaking to reporters before heading to an actual campaign rally, he made 4 stunning statements that show just how badly he's failing in his most basic of presidential duties right now. He's failing. The failing Donald Trump. First, while he acknowledged that the bomber was, quote, a person that preferred me over others, he said that left-leaning Americans pull off heinous crimes too. Oh, how dare he? How dare he? We're all angels over here on the left. We would never do such a thing, Mr. President. Behave yourself, sir. He specifically referred to the shooting of Republican lawmakers during a June 2017 congressional baseball practice. The attacker, who nearly mortally wounded Representative Steve Scalise, supported Liberal Senator Bernie Sanders and disliked Trump. So this was a failure on behalf of President Trump. He shouldn't have mentioned anything that the other side does. How dare he? We're supposed to pretend those things don't happen. Second, Trump proceeded to say he took no blame for his rhetoric. Oh my God, this is obscene and offensive. This is horrible. This is horrible. What a misstep from the failing president, James, which repeatedly demonizes the news media. Not at all. No, there is no blame. There is no anything, he told reporters. Oh, what a disgusting pig. Third, as if that weren't enough, he made sure to take yet another swipe at reporters, James, asked if he would commit to toning down his rhetoric for a few days. Like, who are you to demand anything?
Right.
Like, who was the reporter to demand he change his behavior? I'm sorry, what? Like he told that 60 Minutes woman, hey, I'm the president, you're not, right? It's very simple. He responded, well, I think I've been toned down. I could really tone it up because, the media has been incredibly unfair to me and to the Republican Party. And finally, James, when asked if he would call Obama and Clinton, this was my personal favorite. This is apparently, according to Vox, this is what he's supposed to do. When asked if he would call Obama and Clinton, two of the bombers' top targets, that's a little unfair to Robert De Niro, I think. Trump said, I think we'll probably pass. In other words, and here's the thing, right? Here's the inference game again. He said, I think I'll probably pass. But what we hear at Vox is something completely different. What do we hear? Here's what we hear. He doesn't even want to do the bare minimum a president is expected to do here. Speak with the people targeted by a terrifying bomb threat and tell them he's happy they're safe. Oh, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton waiting by the phone going, Donald hasn't even called to check up on me, Like, he doesn't even care.
This totally reminds me of that. Did you see the fake hug and kiss between Chris Cuomo and Don Lemon? Like that's what I imagine going on. Like that's the meme of it right there. That's what they wanted. This is the hubris of the media. They think that they're in charge. They literally believe, they love that whole narrative of we are the fourth column. We are the fourth branch of government that's unspecified in the Constitution. We are the arbiters of truth, justice, and the American way. They take that shit way too fucking seriously because the rest of us are like, go sit down. Or as Terrence Williams says, go to bed. You guys are fucking retards. Yeah. Yeah, we had some really excellent chat, by the way. I have to mention it because it really goes down to I think it was Claudia that said, or was it Paula? I think it was Paula. Hold on. You know what? Before I screw this completely up, I'm gonna scroll back and I'm gonna find it because it was excellent. It was between Blonde Mama and it was Paula. Paula said, "Oh, it was Birding Trip." Birding Trip said they were not pipe bombs, they were toys, followed immediately by Karen that said POTUS sent smoke signals to the Seminole Indians so they could get the decoupage dildo toy maker to send out the fake bombs.
The Seminole Indian who's a Filipino and an Italian, by the way.
Excellent. Those were perfect.
Secret white guy codes. That's what we're dealing with here.
Secret, yeah. Don't the left know that we get our own personal smoke signals sent directly to us? We have a secret message site that we go to, and we read it inside the little smoke signals as they go up.
Yeah, there's an app. There's an app for that, James.
There's an app for that now, yeah. We used to have to go outside.
Racist cloud.
Yep.
Yeah, the Nazi cloud. Someone else in the chat, by the way, said, if he doesn't tone down his rhetoric for Melania, what makes you think he's going to do it for you? I think that's bang on money. That's on point.
Yeah, that's on point.
I think it's time for the hammering, James.
I think it's time, too. We have the smartest audience in new media. You guys are awesome, and here we go.
Stop the hammering.
Continuing on with the theme tonight, James, a little green screen going a bit crazy there with the green trees behind President Trump. Not to worry, President Trump live in the studio here at TAV. Let's go rock and roll.
You think if
I just want to compliment law enforcement for having done an incredible job. The FBI, Secret Service, so many. I mean, they just got together and did a fantastic job, like finding a needle in a haystack. So I want to congratulate them. As you know, I think everybody wants to congratulate them.
Terrible tarping job there if you look in the top right. Like who was like, this was obviously not a Boy Scout. Put it, you know, this guy does not have a tent making badge.
But they did a fantastic job. I'm going to North Carolina right now. It's raining, so if you don't mind, I'll step out of the rain. But we're very proud of law enforcement.
Donald Trump played this exactly the right way, I think. He came out as soon as this story broke and said, we're going to use the full force of the law to bring this guy to justice, and in times like this, we need to unify. What's the story of the corporate press, James? That Donald Trump is actually endorsing this kind of behavior, that this guy is going after his preferred targets, and he's not doing enough to unify people. And you've got to, sometimes you've got to step back and put yourself in the mind of someone, you know, like, I always like to try and think of it like this: the dinner table conversation in the middle class, right? Husband, right. Wife, couple of kids screaming, throwing mashed potato at each other, whatever. Did you hear about this bomber, honey? Yes, I heard about this bomber. Like those, that's where the message, like that's where it's most fertile, whatever message you're trying to sell. Now, whilst it might make sense in the theoretical bubble circles of, you know, say higher education, James, and the university professors and even the corporate media, to basically come out and say the president is, you know, he's inspiring people to go send bombs to Democrat opponents and he's not doing enough to stop it. That might make sense in their world, but I just don't think it makes sense. It doesn't pass the sniff test in the dinner table conversations. You know, honey, did you hear? Donald Trump is, you know, there's a guy sending bombs to Democrat people. Oh, that's terrible. What did the president say? Oh, he came out and said, you know, the DOJ and the FBI are investigating and they're going to bring this guy to justice. Oh, really? Did he say that he tacitly supports white supremacy and the bombing of Democrat people from Filipino Italians? No, he didn't say that. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Pass the sauce, you know?
I did not see my face in the van. I don't know. I heard he was a person that preferred me over others, but I did not see that. Does that bother you at all? No, not at all. No, I mean, not at all. No, that there's no blame. There's no anything. If you look at what happened to Steve Scalise, that was from a supporter of a different party. You look at what happened on numerous of these incidents, they were supporters of our.
See, he's giving them a chance there. He's saying, no. You can't blame me because I could just turn around and blame the shooting of Steve Scalise on the Democrats. He's giving them an out. Like he's saying, giving them an out, wrong to play this blame chance, this blame game, but they're too stupid. They can't take it. No. This is definitely Donald Trump's fault. And then you turn around and say, what about the shooting of Steve Scalise? And they're like, shut up, bigot. Shut up, you racist. Stop being a KKK.
I'm just really proud of law enforcement. I think they did an incredible job. And I will see you in North Carolina.
Something differently in the way that you engage?
No, I don't think so. I think that we're running a great campaign. People love what we're doing. They love what we're saying. The Republicans had tremendous momentum. And then, of course, this happened where all that you people talked about was that, and rightfully so. It was a big thing, rightfully so. But now we have to start the momentum again. I think the Republicans have tremendous momentum when you think of Judge Kavanaugh, when you think of all the things that have happened.
See, that's actually tremendous honesty there from President Trump that, again, the news media will completely glaze over. What kind of politician in the past, James, in light of something like this, you know, you can even, let's give it the best case scenario, in light of an attempted terrorist attack against your political opponents, what politician would come out and say so candidly that this has disrupted our momentum and our campaign strategy and we need to get back to, you know, all of the politicians know that. All of the politicians that would be in Donald Trump's place would be thinking, oh, wow, this is really bad for our campaign strategy. Like, this is hurting our momentum. How many of them would actually come out and say it?
Right.
Not many, I would assume. Most of them would say, oh, the hearts and prayers, let's hashtag this thing out of existence for a week and then we'll get back to business, you know, secretly behind closed doors.
And hopefully we're going to go into a great victory. We have a lot of Senate races where we're leading. races that, frankly, were going to be uncontested. It looks like we're leading a lot of those races. The House is, there are a lot of people in the House, so we're going to see how that goes. But I think we're doing very well in the House.
What about the blue wave, Mr. President?
If they wanted me to, but I think we'll probably pass. Thank you very much.
They're still talking about it.
Well, I think
These
I've been
people are
toned down.
fucking
You want to know the truth? I could really tone it up. Because, as you know, the media has been extremely unfair to me and
As you know.
to the Republican Party. I think
That's right.
the media has been very, very unfair in terms of the Republican Party
We
and
haven't
the way
been
it's been
unfair.
covered.
Now let's go to Jake Tapper
They
being
understand
unfair.
that. They write articles about that. Many of them admit that. But the media has been unbelievably unfair to Republicans, conservatives, and certainly to me. But with all of that being said, we're winning, so I like that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Let's talk about this
Here
with
we
our
go.
panel.
Jake Tapper.
Amanda Carpenter, you heard the president yet again, and an opportunity to take some ownership for the rhetoric
So, an opportunity to take ownership for the rhetoric, James. Oh, we gave him an opportunity to blame himself for the actions of a great and he didn't take it. I don't understand why.
I don't know
understand why. Every other politician would have come out, every other president, James, that, you know, those Democrats, they would have come out and said, you know, it's basically like I made the bombs. Like you just blame me, crucify me. You know what? I'm going to resign. I'm going to walk away from office. It's my own walk away movement because it's all my fault. This is what he was supposed to do. This was the script that was written for him. You know, I guess he just didn't pre-read the script.
Yeah.
passing on the opportunity.
Passing on the opportunity. They're so generous, aren't they? We gave him a chance to own it.
Say about this. I think after all these incidents, we always ask, was the perpetrator mentally ill or what happened? I think in this scenario, we need to ask, was he just unstable enough to believe the things that the president says?
Do you guys see
what the president says? You are a mentally unstable Filipino Italian guy sending toy bombs living in a MAGA van. That's you.
Oh my God, dude. I think it was Phil. Dude, I'm glad Phil was in the chat, because if I'd have heard that, I might have thought, you know what, Phil, man, you shouldn't have done that.
But, you know, political parties spend millions of dollars, James, on trying to trying to do groundwork, right? Trying to understand the electorate, what they want, focus groups, demographic breakdowns, voting breakdowns, right? Forget all that. We now know what the Trump supporter is. The Trump supporter is someone who is mentally unstable enough to believe him.
Yeah, that's right. Done.
Get rid of the focus groups.
Check
there
the
it
box.
is.
You believe the press is the enemy of the people. Hillary Clinton is evil, and there's a deep state undermining the country. Pipe bombs become your weapon of choice rather than words.
Wow. Wow. If you believe that there's a deep state, pipe bombs are your weapon of choice. Are you? Oh my. Oh, do you guys see why we love CNN? This is why we love CNN. They put their crazy on the front porch and give it a tea.
Well, it was only, I mean, how many interviews have we watched over the last, 6 months, 12 months of people on CNN? I mean, remember the New York Times editorial where the guy was like, I work in the government and there's a whole bunch of us secretly undermining Donald Trump's agenda, you know, and here we are, we're the real patriots. There's no deep state. There's no such thing as a deep state.
We have literally people admitting that they're members of the deep state. We have an entire whole structure of people that said, we're proudly never Trumpers. We're going to resist from inside the State Department. What? And now if we believe it exists, we must all be pipe bombers.
What about Charles Schumer? Remember when he said, if you go against the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday of getting back at you. And all the Democrats were celebrating like, the intelligence community runs the country, not the president.
That's right.
What? Are we just admitting now that the president is, at the behest, like he serves at the behest of the intelligence community and they have the ability to take him down?
That's right. Here, this is even better. If you listen, I'm going to tell you something that will start to light you guys up. I'm going to give you a reason to listen to former insanity president, Barack Insane Obama speeches. If you actually listen to the shit that he's saying and the speeches he's giving, you can tell, like, he's essentially writing them himself now. Like, you can just tell, like, they fucking led this guy around by the nose, and he has no idea what the hell just happened for the last 8 years. That the reality is that everybody else was running the government. They were just giving him papers to sign, and he didn't know what the fuck he was doing. Like, everybody else was running the government, and you can tell that if you actually listen to what he's saying today.
No, well, I guess he's mentally unstable too then. I guess everyone's... Charles Schumer, mentally unstable. He thinks the intelligence community has ways of getting back at the president. I mean, what a psycho. Has anyone checked Charles Schumer's mail? Maybe he's sending pipe bombs too. Let's check him. He sounds mentally unstable.
Yeah, hey, he didn't get one, right? He might have been the guy sending them.
He might have been the guy sending it. Maybe he's an American Indian too, just like Elizabeth Warren.
I want Republicans to ask themselves, if you're in that crowd and you see a sign like that, targets, is this the atmosphere that makes America great again? Because I think it clearly has made us less safe.
And you heard a Secret Service agent was on the show earlier talking about when you cover these rallies, how serious.
Isn't it amazing how quickly they were able to identify this guy in a crowd of MAGA, like at a MAGA rally? Like, it was within minutes.
Yeah.
They're like, here's the guy holding up a CNN sign. Again, like, what did it take? Like 12 years to find Osama bin Laden, but it took 12 minutes to find this guy in a crowd of thousands and thousands over multiple rallies. Incredible stuff. Isn't that just the darndest thing?
Obviously, people in the audience, many of them, take the words coming from the politician. It's such a powerful position. You can inspire, you can stoke fear, you can do anything really if you're if there's that much adulation.
Exactly. I was actually on the president's campaign swing throughout the western states over the weekend, and there's always that moment in the rallies where he turns to us sitting in the back, taking notes, and says, "Look at the fake news media back there," and the entire crowd just boos at you. I mean, this is a crowd that adores Trump, listens to what he says. So the president's words really do matter.
And feels hurt.
I know, it's terrible. People boo at you. Yeah, like I remember all of that footage of people walking into Donald Trump rallies during the campaign period, James, where they were getting spat on. Remember the mothers getting spat on and hit with people over the barricades? Yeah, but
Chicago
turn around and boo at you. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Chicago went fucking batshit crazy.
Absolutely.
See how he approaches that rhetoric in Charlotte later tonight.
Weird statement by the president. I mean, he started off
weird statement.
Sounded prepared.
I'm sorry. What was weird?
It's weird that he didn't take the blame that we're assigning to him. Like, this is wrong. Something's not right. The force is out of alignment, James.
Right. Something we don't often hear the president say, praising the FBI.
Donald Trump never praises law and order. Donald Trump never praises law enforcement. Like, all of those rallies he's done where he's spoken about ICE and how brave they are. Like, this is something very rare for Donald Trump to praise intelligence agencies and law and order. Actually, I remember this stuff. Like, it wasn't that long ago where he did a rally and he was like, I went and spoke to the people of the FBI, and they seemed like they were on board and we had a great rally there. But he talks about McCabe and Comey and the leadership of the FBI. That's what he doesn't like. That's what he didn't like. And the fact that, McCabe was fired by his own institution should be testament to that. But no, they're victims. He's a white supremacist, whatever. I don't know.
What he didn't include in that sort of prepared section was a further condemnation now that we have a suspect. Condemnation of the suspect of the alleged.
He didn't include a further condemnation. This is a thing that progressives in the media always like to do. If you apologize, they say he should have apologized more. If you don't apologize, they say you're supposed to apologize. If you do apologize, they say not good enough. It's like their usual, tricks with budgets, James. So my theory is never try to outspend the left. Like never go there. Well, there's no point. If you come out and say we're going to spend $300 billion on school, they'll come out and say, no, $300 billion isn't enough. We pledge $600 billion on schools. If you come out and say we need to spend $50 billion on the military, they'll say no. That we're going to get taken over by China. We need to spend $100 billion on the military. Whatever you want to spend, they'll say it's not enough, and they'll double it. That's been their routine. They always go further left than you on the spending. Same thing for the media with the apologies game. Don't try. Don't try to appease them. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I would just point out, because you're not generally, like, in America, that's the one thing you just made a mistake, is that's the one thing they will never outspend you on, is the military. They've been trying to take all the fucking money out of the military. They want 4 guys in a rowboat. Okay, that's what their ideal military is. Put rowboats all around the continental United States and put 2 guys in it, and that's it. Like, that's how they would want to do it.
Touche.
What happens next? Look at his statement compared to the law enforcement officials that spoke earlier in the day. And then as the conversation continues with the press, what does he do? He sort of circles to his real target, which is unfortunately the news media, right? So by the end of that gaggle, he was right back to the media needs to take more responsibility. And look, I don't think nobody's responsible for sending bombs except the person who sent the bombs, right?
Except
but he does not. He just will not get it wrapped around his head that his rhetoric can help create an atmosphere where someone thinks it's
shit. Grandma Smith owned the chat just now. She said, "Now I know why more people want to watch SpongeBob SquarePants."
Look, nobody is responsible. This guy realized halfway through his statement that he screwed up and he was saying the wrong thing, because it's hard to blame President Trump when you actually literally come out and say it's not his fault. So nobody is responsible for sending the bombs. But the thing the president can't get his head around is, despite the fact that nobody except the guy who sent the bombs is responsible for sending the bombs, we could still blame him. Like, I don't know. I didn't get that.
Okay.
It was interesting. He spoke earlier today. He condemned it, didn't mention CNN or the individuals who had been sent the devices. And then in that same event, after he called for unity, somebody yelled out, CNN sucks. He was talking about polls. CNN sucks. And then he talked about globalists. Somebody yelled out George Soros. Somebody said lock them up. There's allusions to 3 of the people that were sent bombs.
Right. Yeah. Well, he brings up trying to compare this to the congressional shooting, and it's not the same thing. And the reason it's not the same thing.
Do you know who Kirsten Powers is, by the way? We were only talking about her last week. Kirsten Powers is the one who put out on Twitter, like, dear white people who are angry that they can't wear costumes that they like on Halloween anymore. Get over it. Your feelings don't matter. Right. That's Kirsten Powers. Troll extraordinaire.
Is that this was just a who's list of enemies of Donald Trump. So this is where this person got these ideas. I'm sorry. There's no other person that is obsessed with hating CNN than Donald Trump, like pre-Donald Trump.
I beg to differ, Kirsten. I beg to differ. There's at least 130 in the chat right now. Oh no, there's bombers everywhere, Jay.
I can't believe
it's under the bed.
I can't believe that this chick is literally excusing a guy that actually shot people. People almost lost their life. To now she's giving a pass to that guy, but she's just claiming this guy who sent Play-Doh bombs that were made with basically Crayola and headphone jacks that couldn't possibly have exploded. That guy is the bane of everyone's existence. This chick is fucking unhinged.
And that guy got his ideas from Donald Trump, because where else would he get them from?
Yeah.
Like, where else? You see, this is the thing that we've been saying. We've done so many hammerings on this, I've lost count. The perception that is created by the mainstream press is you are all empty vessels, right? The only information, the only opinions that you have, the only ideas that you think, the only thoughts that you think, the only ideas that you can coin come from Donald Trump's mouth. If it wasn't for Donald Trump, you'd all love CNN. You'd all love MSNBC and the New York Times. But this evil, this evil, racist, misogynistic, news media hating president has put himself between the people and themselves. And it's all his fault. Any idea that you don't have your own opinions, you don't have your own thoughts, anything you think was specifically put there by Donald Trump. Now, on the other side, remember the other side constantly accuses you of playing the fear campaign. Oh, you're just trying to stoke fear. So when their politicians get out there and say that Brett Kavanaugh is a gang rapist and a threat to all women in America, and then those people then go out to the Supreme Court, attack people, try and claw their way in like animals on a rainy night. No, well, that's just an organic uprising. That's just people standing up for democracy. When Hillary Clinton says we need to suspend civility for those on the other side, and then Maxine Waters comes out and says, wherever you find people in the gasoline station, should I do the voice again? I'll do the voice. In the gasoline stations, in the restaurants, you form a crowd and you push back on them and you tell them you're not welcome here. That's just when that happens, when politicians get chased out of restaurants or gasoline stations, that's just an organic uprising. That's independent thought flourishing, James. On the flip side, anything that Donald Trump says, you just instantly adopt because you have no brain of your own. You're uneducated, racist, you're a bigot, you believe in dog whistle politics, and you're probably an anti-Semite as well.
That just wasn't a thing. I guess people had feelings about CNN, but it wasn't an obsession.
Look at the other panelists. Even the other panelists are like, are you kidding me?
Like, what feelings, the fuck?
Whoa, feelings. Yeah, we just had feelings about CNN. No real opinions. Like, we just didn't think they were garbage. We just had some really, some improper, unnice, bad feelings about CNN. It wasn't until Donald Trump came around that it became an obsession.
Became bomb-worthy.
Yes, bombable. I can't blame it, James. These days, I am obsessed with CNN. Watching this shit show unravel before our before our very eyes is something that I look forward to every morning. It gives my life purpose. Donald Trump has inspired me to hate CNN. What can I say? There's your hammering.
Dude, I gotta give, before we get to the outro here, you gotta look at these two chicks' faces. Look at them. Like oh my God, my life sucks. I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I work for CNN. I can't believe that I have to cover this story. And I cannot believe that I have to listen to this twit talk right now.
Stop the hammering.
That is all we have for you tonight, folks. It has been awesome. We are glad to have you. As always, we look forward to seeing you again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. For me, if you want to follow me, you can follow me at RealPerson, PLTCS. If you want to follow him, you can follow him at Boogie Bumper. If you want to follow us, you can follow us at TavShow, at TavShow.com. Any final words there, Boog?
Roll on. What are we, about 8 days away now? So we'll get one more show in, I think. We'll get one more show in next week. It'll be a big midterm election special. Hopefully we don't get bombed in the process, James. That's all I can say. You're half Asian. I'm half European. I guess we're all Native American at the end of the day, which is white. Yeah.
All right. Unity. With that, folks, aloha. Everybody have a great day.